this. Come and run again. Living like giants, yeah, giants. Awaken,
awaken. Places, everyone, places.
Now, we begin.
Hello, Matteo here, audio director for League of Legends. I'm extremely excited to be here today to speak with all of you about the processes, the principles, and the unique challenges that come with developing audio for League. In fact, we are going to dive deep in the development of League's sound, voiceover, and music with different members of the team. There will be multiple talks broken down into chapters to be able to look and understand League audio development from different angles. I hope you all enjoy this series of talks, and without further ado, let's get things started. League of Legends is a team-based strategy game. It was first released in 2009. It's a 5v5 MOBA, which means that there is a major multiplayer component to the game. And over the course of 10 years, League has grown and grown and grown, hosting all kinds of players with all sorts of expectations. And some of these players play for fun, to play with friends, and other players think of League as a lifelong career in the global esports scene. Now, in order for somebody outside of Riot to understand League audio development, there are 5 important factors that need to be discussed and understood. These 5 aspects are the result of the intrinsic nature of League, and here we will focus on how they impact audio development in various ways. The first factor is the age and global nature of our game. As we know, League is over 10 years old now, and over the course of 10 years, the player base has changed and the player expectations have also changed. So when we develop audio for League, we constantly find ourselves dealing on the one hand with what new players expect, but also on the other hand, we needing to keep in mind what old League players expect. This is Akali here. She's a League champion that was first released back in 2010. Akali went through a major champion rework in 2018. That means that for 8 years, millions of players have been listening to Akali's sounds and relying on those sounds as major gameplay cues to be able to make split-second decisions in-game. When we updated Akali in 2018, we couldn't just ignore that history, and we had to create assets and design an audio experience that would feel new yet related to what players were familiar with. Her W spell, for example, is Akali throwing a magical smoke bomb that grants her camouflage. And as you can tell, the old and the new sounds are different, yet related to each other in the way they're built. You will notice too that the old one was a mono asset versus the new one being stereo. That's because the new Akali presents different audio experiences for the player versus everyone else in the game, and that allows us to introduce some 2D cues that are self-player only. Our player base is also extremely international. We in fact have currently 17 unique languages on League, for a grand total of over 500,000 VO files across all languages. Much goes into making sure that each processing recipe for every voice is accurately reproduced in each language, with some needed tweaks to accommodate for differences in casting and VO performance.
No one's honest till they get a knife in the gut. 人が正直になるのは腹にナイフが刺さった時だけだ. Путь к совести человека лежит через нож в брюхе.
The second major factor of the 5 I mentioned earlier is what I'd call the future perspective. Any creative decision that we make is made with the expectation that that sound, that voiceover, or that piece of music is going to stick around for a very long time. And most likely, it'll end up existing in other places outside the game, like linear materials or other games that live in the League IP. You can imagine then how this affects the development process. Our confidence level that something will be able to stand the test of time has to be extremely high prior to release. This is Jhin, one of our most popular champions. Jhin was first released in 2016, and quickly his voiceover became one of the most popular across all regions.
Art should terrify. Everyone wears a mask. I just chose to create my own.
League players from around the world love Jhin and love his VO. It would be unthinkable now to make any changes to his voice, and in fact, we must ensure that Jhin still sounds like Jhin even in other places outside the MOBA. The third important aspect is the League of Legends game model, and how that affects audio development as a whole. As we know, League is a live service, free-to-play game, with new patches that go out every 2 weeks. As it's often the case with live games, deadlines are very frequent since there is some audio content going out in each new patch. But to keep the game interesting for over 10 years, there is an ever-increasing need to deliver free-to-play content like new champions, and there is also a constant need to deliver cosmetic content that will be sold, like skins. In League, in fact, we currently have 154 champions and over 1,000 skins, so you can imagine how much audio content we create with regular cadence. And most of it, not all but a great majority, is done in-house. That's right, 17 in-house audio designers, including sound designers, composers, and voiceover designers, compose the League audio team and are responsible for delivering all that content. Now, despite the quantity, I cannot even begin to express the love and craftsmanship that goes into creating and developing a sonic identity for each and every champion and skin. But we'll talk more about this in a few minutes. The next important factor here is the dual nature of League. On the one hand, League is a game, but on the other hand, League is an esport. And like I was mentioning earlier, for professional esports players, League is a lifelong career. That means that every sound is much more than just a sound in a game. It is a gameplay cue that will affect split-second decisions made by professional players during matches where there is a lot at stake. Imagine playing a soccer game, where during a game, one of the lines in the field is too blurry, giving an advantage to one team. A scenario like that is unimaginable in sports. Now, think of the equivalent of that in gaming. Obviously, that has huge implications on how we design audio content. One of the many examples of this is making sure that when we create a new palette for a new skin, we don't unintentionally end up introducing an advantage or a disadvantage through sounds to players who choose to play that skin. Here's an example. Take a listen to Senna's W and R abilities across 3 different skins. Despite those thematics being different, we always strive to preserve the duration, the envelope, the intensity of transients, the average loudness, the ratio between noise and tonality, the space, the motion, the presence, and the frequency profile of each sound across different skins to make sure that they are all equal and equally recognizable. Last but not least, League is a game that lives in the League of Legends universe. But as we know, nowadays we have other games and even a TV series living in the same universe and in the same IP. The reason why that's relevant is because anything that we create on League has to be made with the idea in mind that that same character might eventually at some point live in other places. And of course, things are never as easy as taking those sounds from League and dropping them in another game. That character, those sounds, that voiceover have to be recreated in ways that are truthful to the essence of that character, while also fitting in the framework and the genre of other games.
Next time, run. No one gets in my way!
By the light! No more holding back!
You pay for this!
I'll sleep when they're dead.
Now that we've gone over all these factors, you start getting a picture of all the things that we think about when creating a new piece of audio content. Are the sounds for this champion update going to make both old and new players happy? Is the voice for this skin going to land well across all regions? Are we confident committing to these sounds to the point that we'd be comfortable keeping them in our game indefinitely? Are the sounds for this skin providing a fair experience to professional players? Is a voice processing recipe or music theme designed in a way that can be reproduced on other games with different aesthetics? These are the types of questions that we ask ourselves all the time while working on the sounds, music, and voiceover for League.